This is my first time live streaming, so I hope I do it right. My name is Miss Carla, and I'm the Youth Services Librarian at the Fox Point Library. So I'm hoping I will be able to see some of my friends that I already know from Fox Point, but I'm also looking forward to the opportunity to spend time with people all over Providence and Rhode Island. So what I want to do is read a chapter book, and this is called Love, Sugar, Magic, A Dash of Trouble, and it's by Anna Mariano. I chose this book because it is one of the nominees for the 2020 Rhode Island Latino Books Month Award, and this nominee is in the category for grades 3 through 5. I'm going to add some information on our Facebook page and some links to the website for the award, but any kids 18 and under can read in any category that they feel comfortable with. So a third grader could read this, or they could read in the kindergarten through second, or they could read up in the 6th through 8th category. As long as you read 3 books in the grade level that you choose, you can vote before the end of May, and you can vote online. So if you listen to this whole book, that will be one book down that you get to choose from when you vote. I am reading this aloud with permission from the publisher, which is HarperCollins. And I also hope that you guys, some of you had the chance to attend Miss Amy's Read-Aloud, which she just did at 1 o'clock. That was her Harry Potter Read-Aloud, and she's doing that every day at 1 o'clock. So if you haven't been doing it yet, hopefully you can join in starting tomorrow. All right, so let's get started with this Love, Sugar, Magic, A Dash of Trouble. Chapter 1, Secrets in Spanish. Leo sprinted to the hallway bathroom, slammed the door, and locked herself in just in time. An angry knock followed. "Hey, hurry up in there!" Leo let out a cackle to match her Halloween witch costume. Marisol, Leo's 16-year-old sister, banged on the door. She could huff all she wanted. Leo had no plans of letting her in. With 4 older sisters, Leo was used to these morning races, and it was nice to be on the right side of the locked door for once. Mama always told Daddy that 1 bathroom for 5 girls should be considered cruel and unusual punishment. The house was too small, she said, with only 1 story and more lawn than living space. Daddy would just wrap his arm around Mama and say, "You're small too, Elena, but you're perfect for this family." "Is that you, Leo?" Marisol jiggled the doorknob. "What are you doing?" Leo leaned over the cracked sink, which was always clogged with wads of long dark hair. She dipped a finger in her sour apple green face paint, drew along the edge of her forehead, and rubbed down her cheeks. "Come on, cucaracha!" Marisol yelled. She called Leo cockroach whenever she wanted to be nasty, without getting in trouble for using bad language. "I'm putting on my costume!" Leo shouted. "Aren't you getting a little too old for costumes?" 11 is not too old. Besides, with Marisol's black leather jackets and ripped tights, she dressed like it was Halloween every day. Leo wiggled her fingers at the door, the way witches cast spells in movies. "Snakes in your hair," she thought as loudly as she could. But all she heard was the sound of Marisol sighing against the doorframe. No screams, which meant no snakes, which meant no witch powers. Too bad. "Marisol," Mama's voice called out. "Leave Leo alone. Come use my bathroom if you need to." "My eyeliner is in there," Marisol said, but her footsteps stomped toward Mama and Daddy's bedroom at the opposite end of the hall. Another knock came. Softer. "Leo, please hurry." "Isabel," Leo's oldest sister said, "I can help you with your hair if you need me to." Isabel was the only one in the house with the patience to tame Leo's mane of dark curls. Leo's other sisters had inherited shiny, smooth hair from Daddy's family, but Leo's hair never went down without a fight. Checking her reflection one last time, Leo smiled. Her perfect witchy costume was all part of her plan for a perfect Halloween. Now she just had to find Mama and make her argument. Leo pulled hard on the knob to unstick the creaky door from its frame. "Boo!" she shouted. "Thanks, little Leos," Isabel said, not even flinching. "Happy Halloween." She wore a collared shirt and skirt, with only a pair of tiny pumpkin earrings to celebrate the holiday. She slipped into the bathroom, her grown-up heeled shoes clicking against the tile. Leo couldn't understand why Isabel didn't get more excited. Halloween was one of the best holidays. Not because of the candy or the disguises, even though Leo loved both of those things. No, Halloween was extra special because right after it came Leo's favorite holiday of all, Dia de los Muertos. The 31st of October was like Christmas Eve. For a second, Leo worried that she should have dressed more like Isabel. Would she seem more grown-up without a costume? Then she shook her head, rubbed her green hands together, and set off in search of Mama. The hallway filled with morning noises as the Logroño family got ready for the day. Leo shuffled down the hall, her orange and black striped knee socks shushing against the wood floor. She burst into the kitchen. Sunlight poured through the blinds and into Mama's windowsill garden, where the basil and oregano and cilantro glowed bright. Leo might have a green face, but Mama had the green thumb. "Mwah-ha-ha-ha!" Leo screeched at Daddy, who had his back turned as he sprinkled tortilla bits into the eggs scrambling on the stove. That should probably have been "Mwah-ha-ha-ha!" That's better. "Buenos dias, Leonora." Daddy smiled at her. "I hope you're hungry." Daddy was good at lots of things, like reading bedtime stories and playing guitar, but he knew how to cook only 2 things. Migas, scrambled egg and tortilla topped with a mountain of cheese, and quesadillas, oozing cheese from each slice. Leo sniffed the air and smiled. Cheesy deliciousness was part of every Logroño breakfast. Alma and Belen, Leo's 14-year-old twin sisters, rushed into the room with Mama on their trails. Seeing Alma and Belen out of bed before 7:30 a.m. was a Halloween miracle, especially since they'd been up late the night before, hogging the bathroom and dyeing their bangs robin's egg blue so they could dress as some anime characters Leo didn't know about. "Has anyone seen my list?" Mama asked, shooing the blue-haired twins aside. "What list?" Leo glanced around the cluttered table and shelves. Maybe if she found it, Mama would see how helpful she could be. Then she'd have to agree to Leo's proposal. "You mean the list of special—" Belen stopped mid-sentence when Alma elbowed her. Leo blinked at her suspicious sisters. "Special what?" "Oh, nothing." Mama ruffled a pile of papers on the counter. Leo craned to see. "Haven't seen it," Daddy answered, with his head buried in the frying pan. "Almost time to head out, Leo. Eat up." He divided the migas onto red and blue plates with big white Texas Lone Stars in the middle. Leo opened her mouth to tell Mama her idea. The phone rang. "Hello, Amor y Azúcar Panadería," Mama answered every phone call with the Spanish name of their bakery, Love and Sugar. Daddy always tried to tell her that she needed to keep the home telephone separate from the business, but there was hardly any point. Everyone in Rose Hill, Texas, knew who to call if you wanted to reach the bakery, and half of them probably had the home phone number memorized. "Here," Isabella walked into the room, waving a piece of paper. "Ah, thanks, mija," Mama whispered, covering the phone mouthpiece. She looked at the paper, then pulled a mechanical pencil out of the tight bun at the back of her head and scribbled something at the bottom. She frowned. "Sí, ya voy," she said, and then spoke Spanish too quickly for Leo to guess the meaning. Isabel stood close, looking over Mama's shoulder and nodding. Isabel spoke Spanish. Marisol, too. They had both grown up with their abuela, singing songs, telling stories, and babysitting them while Mama went to work. Abuela had been too old to look after babies by the time Alma and Belen were born, but even they were getting better after a year of Spanish classes in school. Leo, who was too young to have known Abuela, and for Spanish class, couldn't speak more than a few words here and there. Mama hung up the phone. "Otro hechizo," she said softly. Isabel nodded. Leo tilted her head and frowned. Mamma only spoke Spanish with customers, or if she didn't want Leo to understand. But that didn't matter now. She had an important goal. The Dia de los Muertos festival wasn't just the best holiday of the year, or one of Rose Hill's favorite traditions. It was also Amor y Azúcar's biggest event. They sold their cookies and cakes and sweetbreads as the whole town celebrated the lives of their ancestors. Mamma's family had hosted the Day of the Dead festival for as long as there had been a Rose Hill, Texas to celebrate it. Or at least that's what Abuela used to say. And getting ready for the festival required a whole day of preparation. All week, Leo had argued for the right to skip school with her older sisters to get the bakery ready for the festival, with no luck. That was about to change. Mama, I know why you should let me come to the bakery today. Hita, we've talked about this, Mama said, scribbling on her list without looking up. I don't want to hear another speech, please. Leo opened her mouth to argue, but Mama held up a warning finger. Enough. No fair. Leo slammed her fork onto the plate. She felt herself turning whiny, the corners of her mouth drooping. Leo, you know it's not a vacation, Isabel said. Mama just needs a few extra hands. We're going to be busy all day. She smiled at Leo. Leo could help, Belen piped up. The twins were always Leo's best allies. I mean, just with the normal part. Alma elbowed her in the side. Quit it, Belen snapped. Marisol tugged Leo's hair from behind. Mama and Tia Paloma hog all the baking anyway, Cucaracha. We only get the boring stuff, like taking orders from customers. Believe me, school will be way more fun. Mama, said Leo, turning to her mother, I love taking orders. I know I can. The phone blared again. Leo, you will be able to help tomorrow at the festival, Mama said as she picked up the call. Now, please go out to the bus stop. Your sisters and I need to leave for the bakery. Daddy tried to kiss Leo goodbye, but she dodged him, jumping down from the breakfast bar and dumping her eggs in the trash. Anger replaced hunger and growled in her stomach. She stomped out into the foyer. The family cat, Senor Gato, pawed at the front door. Do you get to go to the bakery too? She asked him. Senor Gato blinked round yellow eyes at her. Boo, she hissed at him. He yawned, arched his back, and trotted into the kitchen with the rest of the family. Leo stomped out the front door alone. That's the end of chapter 1. I'm probably going to read for about 20 more minutes. Chapter 2, Mi Amiga, Caroline. I would show the pictures. This is just a loaf of bread, so if it doesn't get more interesting than a loaf of bread, I'm not going to continue to show the pictures. The lower school bus was empty, as usual. Leo and her sisters had always been the first stop on the route and had their pick of seats. Last year, Leo, Alma, and Belen had sat in a new row every day for their first month of school, which was how Leo knew with absolute certainty that the gray vinyl seat 3 rows from the back of the right side of the bus had the most cushion left in its foam and the fewest spiderweb cracks in its window. She pulled her feet up on the seat and reminded herself not to lean her forehead against the glass and ruin her face paint. This far back, she was out of sight of the bus driver, Mrs. Lillis, totally alone. The few bites of breakfast she'd eaten sat like a lump in her stomach. The sky turned bright blue as the bus made its slow, snaking way through Rose Hill. Leo could close her eyes and still see the colorful siding of each house on the route, the well-loved pickup trucks and rusty cars parked along the street, every overgrown lawn or carefully tended flower bed. But her mind still buzzed with angry thoughts. Mama should want lots of hands in the bakery today. The Day of the Dead festival meant the whole town would come to buy sugar skulls and pan de muerto, bread of the dead, or dead bread, as Daddy liked to call it. Many people would stop in for bags of bolillo, bread, or sweet shell-shaped conchas in the weeks following the festival, remembering just how delicious the treats from Amor y Azúcar were. Mama always schemed for ways to expand the bakery, make more money, and buy the sprawling 2-story house she wanted, right in the center of town. Having a big Day of the Dead festival could help that dream come true. So it made sense that the older girls got out of school to make sure that everything ran smoothly. But Leo was an extra set of hands too. The bus slowly filled up. Each stop added a couple of elementary school kids or a large group of middle schoolers. But nobody sat down next to Leo. With Alma and Belen in 9th grade this year, she had no built-in seatmates, and she didn't know how to get new ones. Sisters were so handy for that sort of thing, for sitting next to on the bus or talking in the courtyard before and after school. Sisters were always hanging around until suddenly they left you behind. The bus pulled up to the last stop. Rows filled with kids in masks and sparkling costumes, talking, yelling, teasing, and laughing. 2 5th graders dressed as a lion and a ballerina climbed up the steps and sat in the empty row right behind Mrs. Lillis's driver's seat. Behind them, a tall blonde girl shuffled onto the bus in a dark purple cloak, holding a glitter-filled magic wand in one hand and a brown paper lunch bag in the other. "Caroline!" Leo waved. "You're back!" Caroline Campbell slid into the empty spot beside her. Despite the glitter and the rosy cheeks she painted on, she looked like a faded ghost wearing a Caroline costume. "I should have called you." Caroline had been Leo's best friend in 3rd and 4th grade up until she moved to Houston to be closer to her mom's doctors. The Campbells had moved back to town after Mrs. Campbell died at the beginning of the summer, but Caroline hadn't been in school all year. Leo didn't blame her. She couldn't even imagine what she'd do without Mama. "You didn't have to. It's okay." Leo scratched at her tights. When her friend had come back into town, Mama had sent enough food to feed 2 Logroño-sized families, and Leo had brought handmade cards. But mostly, on Isabel's advice, she'd given Caroline some space. "You picked the best day to come back." "Brent said I could make an entrance." Caroline flicked her glittery wand in the air. Leo craned above the seat. "Where is Brent?" Caroline's next-door neighbor was usually the last 6th grader to get on the bus. His backpack was always extra heavy from carrying Caroline's makeup homework to and from school. Leo wouldn't want to be his seat buddy, but he was all right for a boy. "He's sick. Well, his mom thinks he is, anyway. I am a little bit dubious." Caroline half smiled as she used one of Miss Wood's vocabulary words for the week. She was the kind of person who used the weekly words in real life. "We waited for the bus together, but then he threw up all over his costume. Now his mom thinks he has the stomach flu. I told him not to eat a whole pillowcase of candy yesterday." Leo laughed. "He didn't really eat that much candy, did he?" Now Caroline grinned, and Leo finally recognized her friend. It was a controlled experiment to find out the maximum amount he could eat before throwing up. So tonight he knows exactly when to stop to have the best Halloween ever. Brent Bayman was the type of person who did controlled experiments in real life. Leo hugged her stomach and grimaced while she laughed. "What a terrible idea." "I think he was just trying to make me laugh, you know. I was worried about coming back." Yeah, Leo didn't know what to say, so the silence stretched between them. He visited me every day after," Caroline blurted. Leo's cheeks flushed. Maybe she should have visited more. But Isabel had said not to, and Isabel was usually right about those kinds of things. "I'm sorry I didn't come over. I wanted to be alone. Brent he lives next door. I couldn't avoid him even when I wanted to." Caroline laughed this time, and Leo smiled. "I'm really glad you're back." "Thanks. I think I am too." The bus turned onto Main Street, just a few blocks from school. "I'm excited I get to be here for the festival this year," Caroline said, pointing at the strings of orange marigolds wrapping the streetlights. "In Houston, I would dream about your bakery's cookies. Is everything ready?" Leo laughed, but it tasted sour. "I guess not. My sisters get to skip school to help Mama. Everyone's working today except me." "Really?" Caroline asked. "That's weird." "I know." Leo felt a rush of relief to have someone agree with her, and they acted super weird about it too, speaking Spanish and pretending like it was going to be boring. "Double weird," Caroline nodded, her face serious. Are you sure that everything's all right?" She spun her bracelet around her wrist. Leo's stomach lurched, and not just because Mrs. Lillis hit the Main Street pothole too fast. Caroline's parents had whispered and kept secrets before they told her about her mom's cancer, right before they moved to Houston. Leo's family couldn't be keeping a secret like that, could they? They were almost in front of the bakery now. Leo leaned forward in her seat to catch sight of the bright blue and yellow building that was Amor y Azúcar Panadería. She pressed her face against the window, ignoring the green streaks. The bakery's doors were shut tight, its windows dark. "Something's wrong." "What do you mean?" Caroline asked. "My sisters and Mom and Aunt are supposed to be working. Mama had a lot to get ready, and she needed more help to serve the customers and handle the extra baking." Leo repeated the words Mama had used to shut down her argument all week. "But it's not even open." Caroline leaned next to Leo and peered out the window too. "Secrets," she said softly. The bakery slid backwards until it slipped out of both their sights. Leo's heart pounded so hard she thought it might leap out of her chest. Her mind raced with 1,000 possibilities, while Caroline chewed on her fingernail. The bus pulled in front of the school. Everyone rushed out of their seats. Rose Hill Elementary and Rose Hill Middle School shared the same building, and Leo usually felt a surge of superiority when she got off the bus and left behind the K-5 kids. But today she just felt small and frustrated. The bell rang. Leo led Caroline toward the 6th grade classroom, where Miss Wood, their tall, brown-skinned teacher, welcomed Caroline with a packet of rules and a warm smile. Leo helped Caroline settle into the desk next to hers, which had been empty all year, waiting for her. She sat at her desk and doodled in a notebook as the rest of the class shuffled in. Goblins and wizards and cats, and other witches too, though Leo thought her costume was the best. Later, there would be a parade leading to the gym, where teachers set up booths with Halloween assignments like crossword puzzles and ghost-themed math worksheets. Leo usually spent the day collecting candy from the booths with the easiest work and then sitting on the rickety metal bleachers while Alma and Belen waiting for the costume contest to start. There would be no twins today, though, and Leo wasn't in the mood for crossword puzzles. A plan started to rise like dough inside Leo. "Caroline," Leo whispered urgently while Miss Wood pushed back her fake nose and mustache glasses and continued to take attendance. "Can you do me a favor?" Miss Wood finished calling roll and put her clipboard on her desk. Leo's fingers twitched. "My family is up to something, and I have to find out what. I need to get to the bakery and investigate. And I thought, since the parade is always so wild, and Miss Wood won't be counting us once we get to the gym." Caroline's eyes went wide. "Are you thinking of skipping class?" "Not class," Leo whispered. "Just the party. I'll probably get caught unless someone covers for me and tells Miss Wood that they saw me or that I just went to the bathroom." Caroline's forehead creased. Leo knew she was asking a lot. It was Caroline's first day back, and a good friend should probably stay to support her. Miss Wood clapped her hands, and the 6th graders started to line up for the parade. Leo shook her head, stomping down her disappointment. "Never mind," she said. "You don't have to. It was a bad idea anyway." But Caroline lifted her wand and tapped the top of Leo's black hat. "No, I can do it. Just make sure you line up next to Victoria." "Huh?" Leo looked around, and then she saw that Victoria Goldman was one of the other Wicked Witches, with dark frizzy hair hanging over her green face and a pointy black hat. Oh, smart! Leo slipped into line behind Victoria. It was nice to have Caroline back. After Miss Wood led the class out into the hallway, Leo ducked behind the water fountain and then into the bathroom. She stood behind the door for the first stall, listening to her heart pound over the sounds of various classes filing toward the gym. About 10 minutes later, the hallway finally got quiet. Leo ran out of the bathroom, down the hall, and into the street in front of the school, her witch hat clutched to her chest and her shoulders hunched to avoid being spotted. When she turned the corner safely onto Main, she unhunched her shoulders and looked around. Main Street buildings crowded together, forming a wall of colorful storefronts, interrupted only by a parking lot at a gas station at the end of the road near the freeway. Leo put her hat back on her head and rushed down the sidewalk, past window displays of jack-o'-lanterns and skeletons, hoping no one would notice a little witch with a smudged green face scurrying toward Amor y Azúcar Panadería. Chapter 3, Candles, Ribbons, and Bread. And we have a little candle, a picture of a candle. So, we'll see. On a normal day, Tia Paloma opened the bakery at 7 a.m. sharp after 2 hours of preparing the kitchen and baking up the first batches of pan dulce. But from 2 blocks away, Leo could smell that today was different. The air was crisp and cool, with no warm yeasty scent covering the gravel and gas smell of the road. When she reached the bakery, its bright wooden door held a chalkboard sign that announced, "Please be patient. We're closed today in preparation for Dia de los Muertos. Come out tomorrow at 9 a.m. for games, traditions, and lots of food." Underneath that, in smaller letters, the sign added, "For special orders and emergencies, just call us." Leo stood to one side of the door so that anyone inside the bakery couldn't see her through the big shelf of colorful skulls and cakes set up in the display window. She heard a car speed down the highway, cheerful pigeons squawking, but not the voices of her family. She tiptoed around to the back of the building and peeked inside the back door to make sure she wasn't about to crash straight into her tia or her mama. No one was inside. She pulled the door open. Mama got on the phone at least once a week to fuss at Tia Paloma about leaving the back door unlocked, but it never did any good. "Hello?" Leo whispered into the silent bakery. No one answered. The story about the busy day? It was all a lie. Leo slammed the door shut and pressed her back against it. She slid down to the ground and buried her green face in her knees. She was so mad her makeup was melting, tears cutting green streaks down her cheeks. Half worried from Caroline's talk about secrets, half furious that she was being left out again, Leo felt her bad feelings swell like cake in an oven. Before she knew it, Leo let out a loud screech, one that would have sent Senor Gato running. "What was that noise?" someone asked. Leo panicked as she heard voices over the spine-tingling crunch of gravel. She peered out the back window and saw Mama's muddy maroon car parked in the no longer empty lot. Doors slammed, and Leo's sisters and Mama piled out. "Why couldn't I have just gone to school?" she heard Marisol complain. A lightning bolt of panic zipped through Leo. Mama would be boiling oil mad if she found out that Leo had left school without permission. Leo darted away from the door, looking for a place to hide. She raced past the walk-in refrigerator where trays of shaped dough, gallons of milk, and crates of eggs waited to be freed from their cling-wrapped stacks. She darted past the long wooden table that took up the center of the kitchen area, spotless and empty, when it was usually covered in piles of flour, hunks of dough, and jars of fruit filling, frosting, and caramel. Leo shot by Mama and Daddy's empty office, almost crashed into the swinging doors that led to the front of the bakery, and leaned against them to catch her breath when she heard Mama calling for help emptying the trunk of the car. She gazed around looking for a place to hide as the voices in the parking lot grew louder. She backed up and slammed into the cabinets. They stood tall and solid, 3 of them lined along the walls of the kitchen. Unlike the modern metal ovens or the smooth countertop, the cabinets were carved and cracked, worn down in a way that nothing else in the kitchen was. But right now, as someone struggled with locking and then unlocking the already open back door, the most important thing about the cabinets was that they were big. Leo pulled open the doors of the first cabinet, crawled onto the bottom shelf between 2 huge sacks of flour, and shut herself in until only a thin line of light showed where the doors didn't fit together perfectly. She gazed through the crack, able to see half of the bakery kitchen. High-heeled shoes click-clacked on the orange-brown tiles. Leo tried to lean closer to the crack without making the old shelf creak. She could almost see something, the very edge of a hand, and a dark skirt. "Hello? Yes, I'm here. Where are you?" Mama wasn't using her customer voice, so it was probably Tia Paloma on the phone, or Daddy. Leo leaned so her ear was pressed against the crack. "Yes, I have the ribbon. The candles are at your house." "No, you took them last time because you said you needed them." "I told you we should keep them together, but you said—" I'm sure, Palomita. Yes, Okay, it's okay. Marisol and I can make them. Just get over here. We're waiting. And don't forget to bring Mama and Abuelita." "Bring Mama and Abuelita?" Leo shook her head. She must have gotten flour in her ears. Abuela had passed away when Leo was only a toddler, and Mama's grandmother had been dead for much longer. Mama snapped her phone case shut, click-clacked her way to the front of the bakery. Leo heard snippets of her sisters arguing. Leo thumped back to lean against a flour sack. Her brain felt like a stuffed empanada, with Mama's words oozing out the sides like guava jelly. Candles? Ribbons? Those were hardly normal baking ingredients. Leo didn't know what her Mama had planned, but it definitely felt bigger than getting ready for tomorrow's festival. After a few minutes, she heard noises in the back of the bakery again. The door opened and closed. She leaned forward to take a look through the crack in the cabinet door and spotted Tia Paloma. "Start the dough, Isa," Mama said. "We need to set the table." "Music!" Tia Paloma's high voice rang out. "You're right, Mommy, we need music. Elena loves music, and Abuelita and her abuela. Bisabuela doesn't, but she's an old crabapple anyway." Who was Tia Paloma talking to? Leo saw Mama setting one of her woven plastic shopping bags on the baking table, pulling out candles and cloth and colorful ribbons, and lining them up along the edge of the table. Tia Paloma pushed through the swinging shuttered doors into the storefront, and a few seconds later a voice moaned what sounded like an old love song in Spanish. Leo thought all songs in Spanish sounded like love songs because they had so many long, wailing notes. They were the kind of songs that made you want to clutch your chest and belt them out as loud as you could. Leo stopped trying to pick out recognizable words from the crooning music. Amor was an easy one. And tried to find Isabel. Her sister was measuring ingredients into a small mixing bowl, letting puffs of flour escape to dust the counter as the mixer spun in lazy circles. Leo smelled vanilla and cinnamon and something spicy that tickled her nose and comforted her, even though she couldn't decide if it was a familiar smell or a brand new one. Tia Paloma came back through the swinging doors and helped Mama spread a colorful handmade quilt over the wooden table. Leo recognized the quilt as one of the ones her bisabuela, Mama's grandmother, had made. Abuela used to make ones just like it, though hers were sometimes sewn out of old t-shirts and clothes that Leo and her sisters had outgrown. Maybe this was what Mama had meant when she had told Tia Paloma to bring Abuelita? But still, you couldn't make bread on top of your bisabuela's quilt. The back door slammed. Someone sighed in a long huff. "Your candles!" Marisol slammed a bag on the table. Even from her spot in the cabinet, Leo could tell she was rolling her eyes, and Leo rolled her eyes right back. Marisol didn't even care, while Leo would have given anything to be included. "There you are," Mama said. "Did it go okay? Are you tired? Why is your phone out? Is that what took you so long?" Tia Paloma hurried to the back of the kitchen with her arms full of white, billowy fabric, then crossed Leo's line of sight again, pushing Alma and Belen through the swinging doors toward the bathrooms in the front of the shop. "My friends are telling me everything I'm missing at school." Marisol tapped her phone screen. "Aren't you lucky to be so popular?" Mama held out a hand. Marisol glowered and dropped her phone into Mama's palm. "Help your sister with the dough, please. Your friends will fill you in tomorrow." Marisol sighed and joined Isabel at the counter. Mama continued to take items out of her bag. When the phone at the front of the store started to ring, Isabel ran to answer it. "Hello, you've reached Amor y Azúcar Panaderia. We are actually closed today, but if you'd like to stop by tomorrow for our Day of the Dead festival, you can." Isabel paused. "Oh, yes, of course you can. Just give me 1 minute." She peeked her head into the kitchen, one hand covering the phone. "An order, Mama," she whispered. "A special order." Mama nodded and reached into her pocket, pulling out a folded piece of yellow-lined paper and a blue mechanical pencil. 2 Orders of pan de la suerte, Isabel spoke out loud. Mamma scribbled on the paper. And what's the occasion? Oh, a wedding reception. Yes, we'd be happy to help. If you'll just give me your name and when you need to pick them up. Mamma brought her the paper, and Isabel wrote down the information. Thank you so much, and have a nice day. Oh, and good luck with the wedding. She laughed. Pan de la suerte? Leo knew every kind of bread and cake Amor y Azucar Bakery made, but she had no idea what pan de la suerte was. Didn't suerte mean luck? Thanks, mija. Mamma took the list back and tucked it into her pocket with the pencil. We'll have to get more chocolate coins. Good thing candy will be on sale after tomorrow. The full moon is on Sunday, isn't it? We'll have to start then. Oh, I can't wait to teach you. I haven't made pan de la suerte in such a long time. Marisol snorted, but if Mamma heard her, she ignored it. Isabel just smiled. Leo was more confused than ever. She didn't know any kind of bread made out of chocolate coins and moonlight. Tia Paloma skipped to the long table where Mamma lined up candles on top of the quilt. Alma and Belen followed, both dragging their feet under long white robes that made them look like angels in a nativity play. The robes tied at the waist with thick red sashes, and the twins' colored bangs were hidden under black veils on their heads. They stood just inside the kitchen doorway, looking almost as confused as Leo felt. Oh, who brought a light? Tia Paloma crooned as she made a last adjustment to one of Mamma's candles. I meant to, only I got caught up in who knows what, and Mamma and Marisol reached out from opposite ends of the table. Mamma holding a book of matches, Marisol a purple plastic cigarette lighter. Leo was grateful that she could only see half of Mamma's face, and therefore only half of the evil eye Mamma aimed at Marisol. Marisol, though, seemed unaffected. What? That better not have been in your pocket a minute ago, was all Mamma said. She snatched the lighter and handed it to Tia Paloma. When Tia lit the first candle, all the lights in the kitchen went out. The radio, too, stopped playing, and there was no one in the front of the store to turn it off. Leo shivered. Isabel, Alma, and Belen joined Mamma and Marisol at the table, while Tia Paloma continued lighting candles. Isabel dropped a hunk of unbaked dough on the center of the quilt, and all 6 women spread out until they were spaced evenly around the table. Before Mamma took her place at one end, her tall frame blocking most of the action from Leo's view, Leo caught one glimpse of Tia Paloma at the far end, with a hand hovering in the air over one of the candles. The flickering flames made colors and shapes strange, but Leo thought for a second that Tia Paloma's eyes had turned completely white, like dollops of wax dripping off the tall white candles in front of her. The cupboard had always been dark, but now Leo felt the darkness pressing against her. She tried to see what was happening beyond Mamma's back. Mujeres, Mamma said, and Leo gripped her knees tighter because Mamma's voice always sounded different when she spoke Spanish, faster and lower and unfamiliar. It was scary to know her Mamma had another voice. Hijas de nuestra familia, nos unimos juntas aquí para prepararnos y para dar la bienvenida a nuestras hermanas nuevas, Alma y Belén. Leo didn't know most of those words, but she knew familia meant family, that one was easy, and hermanas meant sisters. She thought there were some other words she should have recognized, but it all went so fast that she couldn't pin them down. A horrible thought popped into Leo's head. Did Mamma not want her to help because she didn't speak Spanish? Mamma continued, and Leo could hear the poetry in the words, even if she couldn't understand them. She heard the words for bread, and sister, and light, and one word that Mamma kept saying that Leo knew she had heard before. It was on the tip of her tongue. Atadas por sangre. Mamma paused and nodded at Marisol. Leo couldn't see what was happening. Over the smell of the burning candles, the same strange scent that had come out of Isabel's baking slipped through the cupboard crack. Leo wrinkled her nose trying to recognize the tingly smell, but she still couldn't tell if she knew it. Leo was curious, and she never was very good at ignoring curiosity. If she could just peek around Mamma's shoulder, she would have a view of Marisol in the center of the table. The room seemed dark enough. Leo pushed the cabinet door ajar with a light touch, then leaned out slowly and so quietly, just far enough that she could see around Mamma's back. Marisol looked pale and ghostly in the flickering light with her thick black eyeliner. She held out a long silver knife. This was not the sort of knife Mamma kept in the bakery or at home in the kitchen. It was not a butter knife, or a steak knife, or a knife for chopping vegetables or slicing bread. It was the sort of knife you might see in a movie about elves and knights and princesses and dragons. Instead of a handle, it had what could only be described as a hilt. The bottom of the hilt was a tiny skull decorated with roses and swirling lines. The cabinet hinge squeaked. Mamma's head tilted at the sound, and Leo pulled her head back in panic. For 3 long seconds, everything was quiet. Leo waited for footsteps, or for the cabinet door to open. Instead, Mamma started speaking Spanish again. Leo peeked through the crack, her heart still pounding. The dough in the center of the table was growing. Like a soft beige balloon, it expanded to twice its size, then 3 times, and then kept going until it stretched from one end of the table to the other. The air smelled of flour, cinnamon, vanilla, the mystery smell, and the candles, and Leo even thought she could smell Tia Paloma's funny organic soap and Mamma's perfume. The darkness all around her stopped pressing Leo into a... The darkness all around her stopped pressing Leo into a nervous ball. Her shoulders, cramped from hunching over, relaxed. Her pulse slowed. She wiggled her toes inside her striped socks and smiled. Alma giggled, and Belen followed, and Tia Paloma's high laughter rang out over Isabel's soft chuckle. Even Marisol cracked a smile. "Shh!" Mamma scolded, but there was a smile in her voice. "Tranquila, girls. And here, take these." She handed Alma and Belen each a cardboard spool of ribbon, pink for Alma, blue for Belen. Marisol, Isabel, and Tia Paloma pulled the sides of the dough balloon so that its top lay flat, and Mamma started speaking Spanish again. Alma and Belen wrapped the ribbons around and through the dough, weaving them together in a pattern that Leo couldn't see. When the spools emptied, Isabel, Marisol, Tia Paloma, and Mamma reached out and folded the dough in on itself from both sides, and then folded the new corners in and in, until the dough was just a bun-sized lump once again. Leo couldn't see the ribbons anymore. Mamma gave one more speech in Spanish about family, and then, as quickly as they had started, she and Tia Paloma blew out all the candles. The kitchen lights came back on, hurting Leo's eyes with their harsh brightness. The radio moaned about love. Mamma gathered up the candles into her shopping bag, folded the quilt, and plopped the dough lump straight into the trash can. "Okay," she said, dusting her hands. "Now that the initiation is all taken care of, start the ovens, please, Palomita. Marisol, your sister will need help filling the conos. Alma, Belen, change quickly so you can start on the pan de muerto glaze. And put your heart into it, please. We have lots of work to do." In the bustle that followed, the strange tingly smell slipped away, replaced by the normal bakery smells. Everyone prepared for tomorrow's festival as though nothing unusual had taken place. With the lights back on, Leo was tempted to let the normalness wrap around her like a blanket and shut out her questions. But one word from Mamma's speech Leo couldn't stop thinking about. The word she hadn't recognized before. Magia. Magic. That's the end of chapter 3, and I think that's a wonderful place to stop. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and we will do it again tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Thank you.